Hello and welcome to Kloeker's Education Foundation, providing quality content for amazing teachers and students. If you're joining us from a previous lesson or previous video, welcome back. And if this is your first time, we're glad you're here. This is our World History series, and this lesson is on the power of the Church, specifically the power of the Church in the Middle Ages. Before we begin, don't forget to check out the link in the description below for a set of free guided notes to go along with this lesson. While you're there, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to expand our reach and continue to educate. Thank you. Now let's dive in. We have one essential question for this lesson, and that is, how did the Church gain and wield power in the Middle Ages? After the fall of Rome, Christianity is the constant. Society has been shattered. The Pope and church leaders are able to secure the power vacuum that has been left by the fall of the Western Roman Empire and expand not only the power of the church, but expand Christianity throughout Europe. Now it spreads in several ways. Missionaries who risk their life to spread Christianity. Clovis, who we spoke about in a previous lesson, when he united the Franks through the use of Christianity in 500 AD, and with the advances of Muslim invaders, the Umayyad dynasty, which invaded from Spain, from North Africa through Spain into France and was stopped by Charles Martel, or Charles the Hammer, stopping Muslim advancement within France. Served as quite a unifying factor for Europe. When it comes to the structure of the church has different ranks of clergy, or another term for religious officials. The Pope is the head of the church, and all clergy, including bishops and priests, fall under the Pope's authority. Now in 2025, we saw the passing of Pope Francis, and we saw the ordination of Pope Leo XIV, pictured on the bottom left. He is the first American Pope, which is quite an achievement for such a young country. For most people, local priests serve as their main point of contact with the church, whether it's through the priest or whether it's the deacons. And you can see on the right the rankings, the structure of the Catholic Church, as well as some of the roles of each individual, whether they oversee a diocese, which is a collection of churches, kind of like a district, in other words, priests who lead a parish or an individual church, or possibly even two churches, celebrate the masses, and then of course the deacons who assist the priest. Militarily, with the constant turmoil of barbarian invaders, plus Muslim advancements in southeastern Europe and through Spain, feudalism is a political system where people are paying for protection. Now, feudalism creates a class division, but the church teachings bonds the people together, providing the people with a sense of security and belonging to a religious community. Priests and other clergy are going to administer the sacraments or religious ceremonies, and everyone is subject to canon law or church law, regardless of political or social status. That is from the lowest peasant to even the highest king. Education was one way that the church not only provided a service to the community, but also expanded its power. The church was one of the few places, in many cases the only place, where one could receive an education. Mathematics, learning how to read and write, was primarily done through the church. Most people at this time were not literate. They could not read, they could not write. And this is why if you go into an old Catholic church, and even into modern Catholic churches, many of the time they have stained glass windows on the side, or paintings on the side, or statues, stations of the cross. And so these serve as visuals So when the priest is giving his homily, his sermon, his lecture to the crowd, and speaking to them, teaching them the gospel, he can point to the pictures and refer to certain stories or certain scenes. This is important because during this time, most people did not know how to read, and so the visuals helped them connect to what he was speaking about. Now, monasteries were religious communities for men who had to commit themselves to a religious order. Many of them had to give up all of their possessions and devote themselves to a life serving God and serving the parish and community. Women who chose to do the same lived in convents and were called nuns. And the church even set a standard, a set of rules. St. Benedict wrote a book setting practical rules for how nuns in convents and monks in monasteries were to operate. As the influence and the authority of the church grows, the church becomes more involved in secular and worldly affairs. Now, to put this in plain speak for everyone, to clarify it now, at this point in time, there is only one church, the Christian church. The Catholic Church, as we often call it, the Pope is at the head. There is no great schism yet. There is no Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholicism. It's just the Christian church. There's no Baptists, there's no Methodists, no Lutherans, Presbyterians, Pentecostal, or Evangelicals. It is just one Christian church, and the Pope is the head. Now, the Christian church at this time becomes more involved in secular affairs, specifically politics. For example, Pope Gregory I used church funds to raise armies when villages were being invaded by barbarians and Muslim invaders. He used church funds to repair roads, which in the modern society is a service of the government. And he used church funds to feed and clothe the poor. The church sought to influence spiritual and political matters. For example, when they crowned Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Emperor, in 800 AD, they were establishing themselves as the highest form of power. They could influence and control the spiritual world because there is just one church, and they can control political matters because they are saying, we, the Christian church, are more powerful. The Pope is more powerful than any emperor or king in Europe. And what he says in regards to the Christian faith will go. Now, a later pope, Pope Gelasius I, is going to come with the doctrine of the two swords, suggesting that God had created two swords. One sword was the religious sword held by the Pope, and one was the political sword held by the emperor. And when it came to political matters, the Pope bowed to the emperor, and when it came to spiritual matters, the emperor bowed to the Pope. If each could keep authority in their own realm, the two could live in harmony. This is what we would call the separation of church and state. It was not an Enlightenment principle, it was a Christian principle in the early church. Fortunately, this separation of church and state did not always happen. Emperors and kings are going to clash with the Pope. The church was unhappy with the use of lay investiture. This meant that the king was appointing members into the church at high levels within the national circuit. And so the Pope banned lay investiture because it was causing quite a bit of corruption because the king was appointing his men into positions of power within the church as opposed to the church appointing its own people to serve. And so those people were not serving the community, nor were they serving the Pope or the church. They were serving the king. And you can imagine how that would cause some issues and ruffle some feathers. Ruffle some feathers means to upset people. And so, in 1075, Pope Gregory VII bans lay investiture, saying no king can install someone within the Catholic Church, and the German Emperor Henry IV is absolutely furious. And so he demands that the Pope steps down from his office. I don't know if you know this, most popes don't step down while they're in office. Most of them die, and that's how we get a new pope. And so Pope Gregory VII kind of just laughs at this, and the German Emperor Henry wants to exhibit his control over the church. And so the Pope Gregory, excommunicated the Emperor Henry. Now, excommunication means he's taking away a person's right of membership to the church. That person is no longer entitled to the benefits of being within the church, nor are they entitled to the protection of the church. At this point, it would almost be saying this person has renounced their Christianity. In the medieval ages, this is a big deal because if someone renounced their Christianity, they weren't seen as a Christian, you could invade them. And so this obviously was not how the German emperor thought it was going to go. And so the emperor approached Gregory and asked him for forgiveness, and the Pope made him wait 3 days outside in the snow before he would allow him back in to meet with him. Yes, the Pope made the highest, most powerful member in Europe sit outside in the snow for 3 days before he would meet with him. The power of the Pope is much greater than that of the German kings and the German emperors, and people will continuously check this and test this throughout the Middle Ages. But ultimately, it's going to weaken the stature of Germany within Europe. So, as a result, the power of the church grows tremendously during the Middle Ages. It provides a sense of social, spiritual, and political unity for Europe, provides a source of education for the entire continent, and even strong empires will engage in a series of bloody wars for the church and for Christendom, known as the Crusades. Take a few moments and answer our central question: how did the church gain and wield power in the Middle Ages? That wraps up our lesson, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if you found this helpful or you liked the video. It helps us expand our reach and continue to educate. Check us out on Teachers Pay Teachers, YouTube, Rumble, and the Kloeker Education Foundation website. We have a ton of resources for you there that you might like, and the videos you might enjoy as well. To check out what's new and what's next in the series, click here. For something you might like, click down below. And subscribe to our channel, click here to the right. All that and more is just a click away. Thanks for watching. I'll see you there.